pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction, then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared, just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus, it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-850-0237. That's 1-800-850-0237, or order online at buygranitestone.com. That's 1-800-850-0237. Call now.
Do you have any idea how your mattress affects your body and how well you sleep? Is it too hard or too soft, causing you to wake up with sore shoulders, back, or hips? Are you uncomfortable because you're too hot or too cold? Now you can get the total body support you need and the better sleep you want with the new MyPillow mattress topper.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell. When I invented my new MyPillow mattress topper, I made it to have everything you'd ever want in a topper. My mattress topper helps give you the support you need, helps relieve your pressure points, and regulates your body temperature for you as an individual. It comes with a 10-year warranty. You can wash and dry the cover. It's made in the USA, and I back it with my 60-day money-back guarantee.
My Pillow Topper delivers on its promise to give me a better night's sleep.
Call now to get your very own MyPillow mattress topper. Use the promo code and Mike will give you 30% off and 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free. Order now.
I personally guarantee it's going to change your bed into the most comfortable.
Live from our Denver studios, it's America's Voice Live with Tudor Dixon and Steve Groomer. America's Voice Live.
Hello and welcome to America's Voice Live. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Tudor Dixon alongside Steve Groomer. It's Friday, September 11th. And today we mark 19 years since the 9/11 terror attacks on our country. Throughout today's show, we want to take time to honor first responders across the country who have shown outstanding bravery. 2020, like 2001, has been a hard year for all of us. But these men and women never falter in an emergency. Their heroic actions are to be celebrated every day, but especially today on the anniversary of 9/11, when brave men and women ran into burning and broken buildings in hopes of saving their fellow Americans. Not because they were family or even close friends, but simply because that is what Americans do. We are forever grateful to those who risked their lives and those who lost their lives that day, and we will never forget. And Steve, those of us who lived through it will never forget where we were. I remember myself, I was working in downtown Chicago. They didn't know if Chicago would be the next city hit. I was in the 3rd tallest building in the city. I got to my office. There were police surrounding it, didn't tell us anything, just told us to go directly home. I rode the train home with a bunch of people trying to figure out what was going on. I mean, think about that. That was before cell phones. You had no idea what was going on. It was surreal.
Yeah, it was surreal, no question. I was with my mother that day at the dentist, taking her back and forth, and I arrived back at her home just in time to see the second tower hit by the second plane into the Twin Towers. It was shocking. It was surreal. It was the kind of thing that brought tears to my eyes and to others as well, as you know, and so it's something that stays with us that we will never forget. But I also remember in the days that followed 9/11, Tudor, the number of American flags that came out. Americans taking time to say hello to each other and being friendly. It might have been the last time we were truly bipartisan in this nation, when we were truly drawn together. And that is something maybe we can reflect on this Friday, the 11th of September, to think about what we are when we're a nation together and how strong we are. Today, the president traveled to Pennsylvania to reflect on this day and his thoughts as well, and the challenges we faced then and the challenges we face now. Here's the president.
We express our undying loyalty to the nearly 6 million young men and women who have enlisted in the United States Armed Forces since September 11th, 2001. More than 7,000 military heroes have laid down their lives since 9/11 to preserve our freedom. No words can express the summit of their glory or the infinite depth of our gratitude. But we will strive every single day to repay our immeasurable debt and prove worthy of their supreme sacrifice. America will never relent in pursuing terrorists that threaten our people.
It is truly remarkable to think about this, Tudor. Here's a fact. Flight 77 that hit the Pentagon on September the 11th, 85 people died at the Pentagon that day. It's the single biggest loss of life in the war on terror. No other day has seen more Americans die since that day in 19 years. Remarkable, really, when you think about the number of soldiers that have laid down their lives in the ultimate sacrifice in Iraq or Afghanistan or in other terrorist hotspots around the world. 85 people died that day in the Pentagon, among the nearly 3,000 that died that day, so it's remarkable. But the president has remained focused on going after terrorists like al-Baghdadi, ISIS, and going after Syrian terrorists as well. He seems to be focused on that. And I guess the good news for me is this. In places like Iraq and Afghanistan, many of the men and women serving in the military are coming home. He's drawing down forces. For the first time in my lifetime, we're not in a new war after a number of years or the first term of a president. We fought the fight against terrorists, and we've taken it to them pretty successfully, I'd say, during his first term as president. And no new wars on the horizon. And so on this Friday, September the 11th, I mark that as well as a victory for us. We're not going into new wars, and I think that's an important promise kept by the president.
No new wars and peace agreements being signed. These are big changes that we're seeing across the globe, and the president is credited with those, and he should be. This administration has worked hard. Jared Kushner has worked hard to make these things happen with the administration, and this is impressive times, unprecedented times. Earlier today, Karen Pence and Mike Pence were at the New York City Memorial talking about 9/11 and speaking about that day and paying tribute to the folks who passed away on that day. Let's listen to what they had to say.
In the memory of all those we lost on this day 19 years ago. In memory of the heroes that were forged that day. And heroes forged on battlefields ever since. And for the families, loved ones, and friends they left behind. I pray these ancient words will comfort your hearts.
Tough stuff. I was watching this morning with my girls, Steve, and obviously my girls are too young to have experienced this. They didn't live through this. And they say to me, Mom, why are you watching this if this is making you cry? And I say to them, it's so important that you understand. We went through what happened that day. They were asking me questions like, what does hijacking mean? These are things that they haven't experienced, but it's so important for our young people to know why we fought this battle afterward and why peace is so important.
You remind me of something that happened that day as well after I dropped my mother off at home. Listening to the radio reports, listening to all the confusion and the noise and the people that didn't know what was going on, and to see Andy Card lean down and whisper in George W. Bush's ear during that reading session at the elementary school in Florida and whisk him away out of the room after a few moments. We didn't know where the president was. We didn't know where the vice president was. We as Americans, one of the very few times in our lives, we were completely in the dark. We didn't know. And I had a third grader at the time. And I thought maybe I should go to school to pick her up because we didn't know. We'd seen the Twin Towers hit. We'd seen the Pentagon hit. We had heard about Flight 11 in Pennsylvania. We weren't sure, quite frankly, what was happening. It was unsettling. And as you recall, the days afterwards, What a strange world we lived in. To walk outside at night and look up, we're in a fairly busy area here. Not a single plane in the sky. Remember those days? Not a single plane, and everything was quiet, eerily quiet, except for the American flags that I saw come out on businesses and homes and flying from people's cars. Again, I come back to the fact that we all came together that day because of the sacrifices made. And you mentioned earlier, Tudor, the sacrifices made by the front line EMTs and firefighters and policemen that were on the scene, the first responders that were there giving everything they had, running into the burning buildings while people were trying to get down the fire escape shafts. And we've got a little bit of a video here to remember those that made the ultimate sacrifice on September 11th, 2001. Watch this.
I was numb. I was literally numb because there was so much going on. There were fires, there were people yelling for help, there were people hanging out some windows, there were fire trucks that were just crushed. It was like a scene out of a movie. I literally thought I was in a Bruce Willis movie.
My heart just dropped out when I came in and they said we have 19 guys missing. So it's unexplainable. I mean, it's just like you don't believe the Trade Center came down, you can't believe these guys are gone. 6 weeks later, I still can't believe it.
It was put together at the time, and Tudor, one of the other chilling photographs and images I remember, those that jumped to get away from the flames at those, 87th, 88th, 89th floors, and things that will stick with us. And I think it's important that you share with your daughters, and we share with young people every day, what we went through on 9/11 and how we came together as a country. And maybe someday we can do it again. Tudor, I think it's extremely important, those lessons, to share them going forward.
The days when you couldn't find an American flag because they were sold out no matter where you went, because the country was so united. And it is an important lesson this year when the country seems to be incredibly divided, that we as a country, together, we can do anything. And we got through that, and we will get through this as well. Stay tuned. You're watching America's Voice Live. We have more.
Stay tuned to get a free pan from Granite Stone. Stuck on eggs, burnt on batter. You can scrub and scrape, but you can't escape the nightmare of your sticky pans. Introducing the Granite Stone Pan, the all-new durable non-stick pan. No butter or oil needed. Watch, we melted down these sticky candies in Granite Stone, and it just doesn't stick. We cooked a half a dozen eggs, bacon, cheese, and tomato breakfast with no butter or oil, and it just doesn't stick. Look, caramels, chocolate, and cheese. Unreal for any other pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction, then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-850-0237. That's 1-800-850-0237, or order online at buygranitestone.com. That's 1-800-850-0237. Call now.
Welcome back to America's Voice Live. I'm Tudor Dixon alongside Steve Groomer, and we want to head out to Jessica Rivera in our Denver studio for a special 9/11 report.
Thank you, Tudor and Steve. And today, as we remember 9/11/2001, we also remember 8 years ago today in Benghazi, Libya, when Islamic terrorists attacked 2 of our facilities. one being our American diplomatic compound and the other our CIA annex. The attacks took the lives of 4 Americans: U.S. Ambassador to Libya Christopher Stevens, U.S. Foreign Service Officer Sean Smith, along with CIA contractors Tyrone Woods and Glenn Doherty, who were all killed inside the compound. And while just a mile away at the CIA annex, there was the annex security team and former soldiers assigned to protect operatives and diplomats in the city. And News On host Miranda Kahn and I interviewed former U.S. Marine Mark Geist, also known as Oz, who was a member of that annex security team. Let's take a listen. Mark, so really quickly, I just want to know, what do you want people to remember about that day since you were there firsthand? And I know a lot of people ask, were you guys really given the orders to stand down before you went into the compound?
You know, I think the most important thing is we need to remember how important it is to have the right leadership in place in this country. Unfortunately, the leadership that we had at that time failed to respond to the people that were on the ground, both before the attack and after. And because of that, we had 4 Americans that got killed unnecessarily.
Yeah. And speaking of which, I mean, as you know, we're also remembering 9/11 today. And one of the questions that we asked our viewers, and we're going to be sharing those comments a little bit later, is do you feel safer today than you did on 9/11? So I'm going to ask that question to you. Do you think America is safer today than it was on 9/11?
I think I have to qualify that with the fact that I think we're safer from Islamic militants safer now than what we were in 2001. But the problem we have now is that evil that was the Islamic terrorist has been replaced by Black Lives Matter and
Mark, I just wanted to make sure that you were done answering before I came in with my next question. And that question is, I know back then, we're going to go back to the Benghazi situation and then Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, who was under much of the investigation, our leadership, and as you spoke about. And here's a clip of her testimony in front of Congress, and I just wanted to play it for our viewers really quickly.
The fact is, we had 4 dead Americans. Was it because of a protest, or was it because of guys out for a walk one night who decided they'd go kill some Americans? What difference at this point does it make?
And Mark, not to really rehash anything, but what were your thoughts back then when this came out? And do you still have feelings about about her response to Benghazi?
I do. You know, it shows the crass approach that the leadership of that administration had, not only to Benghazi, but to everything that they did. I mean, Secretary of State and Vice President Biden and President Obama were instrumental in overthrowing the dictator of Libya and not having enough forward thought to see what the potential ramifications of that are. And I think they were looking for that immediate win, that thing that Hillary Clinton could use when she ran for election in 2016, say, look at my foreign policy experience. Look at how I was able to put together this coalition. And because it was all about her and all about the administration and the leadership there and not about the people on the ground, that's why it failed.
Yeah. Mark, finally, I want to ask you, what do you think is the biggest threat facing Americans today, as we are just now less than 2 months away from the presidential election? What do you think is the biggest threat?
In a lot of our democratic cities, I think the biggest threat is people being afraid to be an American. People being afraid to wear a flag, wear a MAGA hat, wear whatever they want to speak their voice and speak their mind, with the fear of getting beat up or getting hit in the back of the head with a skateboard, and that mob mentality that has been prevalent in so many cities across our country right now.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting you mentioned Black Lives Matter, and we've seen all these protests, violent protests, some of them erupting throughout the country. And this happened, it's been leading up to 9/11, where we're now paying tribute and honoring a lot of those first responders, firefighters, police officers who risked their own lives in an effort to save others. Do you think these will eventually, so to speak, calm down in the weeks ahead, or do you think this is something we're going to continue to see with the violence? I mean,
I pray every day for those that are bringing this hate and this evil to our country, to our cities, to our American citizens, that that the Lord will open up their hearts to see what really is good. Today is that day that we should all look at what America can do when we look for the good in everything.
Yeah.
When we come together as Americans, put aside our differences, put aside politics, and come together. I mean, and that's what we have to be successful, and get rid of this left and right thing. And remember that deep down, we're all Americans and we want the same thing. We want to be able to have our kids go to school and get a good education. We want to be safe when we're walking down the streets. And we want to be able to make $1 without the government sticking their hand in our back pocket with over-regulation to take 2/3 of it out.
And you can catch News On with Miranda Kahn every day, Monday through Friday at noon Eastern. And Tudor and Steve, it was so great to be able to talk to Mark today, not only being the 19th anniversary of 9/11/2001, but what is also the 8th anniversary of the Battle of Benghazi. Back to you guys.
Thank you, Jessica. It makes me wonder, though, Tudor, are we all on the same page? Are we all trying to have the same thing, a safe America, the government out of our pockets? I mean, I see the rioters and the anarchists in the streets. It makes me wonder, I wonder if we're all on the same page at all, looking around. I like his optimism. I think we should be. But it concerns me that maybe we're not when I look at Portland and Minneapolis and Chicago and elsewhere. It concerns me on this 9/11 that we're not united the way we were. And as you said, Tudor, earlier, maybe we're too divided, but maybe we can bring it back together. You're watching America's Voice Live. Quick break. We'll be back.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly meeting?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better. The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain and it's affecting your everyday life. You do something.
If you can find something to help you get back out and be active like Copperfit, go for it.
Absolutely.
Do not give up. A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight, durable construction.
Nothing more painful than having back pains. If you're aching, if you feel like you can't work out anymore, you can. And that's with Copperfit.
Yeah. It's for all of us who still want to be active, still want to compete.
Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this really does feel good. It feels to me like the fountain of youth.
Copperfit's best-selling back support just got bigger, badder, and better. Or call 1-800-944-5851. Or on the web at advancedbackpro.com. Get yours now for only $19.99.
This does feel good.
That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun.
Play for the love of the game.
Copperfit, live limitless.
Welcome back to America's Voice Live. I'm Tudor Dixon alongside Steve Groomer. While the West continues to battle wildfires, residents in southwest Louisiana are still dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Laura. Our very own Miranda Kahn went to Lake Charles this week to give us a look at the damage.
They call it the Forgotten Storm. But for the residents of Lake Charles, Louisiana, they can't help but be reminded of Hurricane Laura, the most powerful hurricane to hit this area since the 1800s. Nearly everywhere you look, you see destruction. Neighborhoods completely unrecognizable. Twisted metal, piles of debris, blown out windows, and a sea of blue tarps for those houses fortunate to still be standing. For some, it seems like just too much to bear.
You see all the destruction in your community, and it's like driving through a tunnel of just destruction. It's taller than your car on both sides.
It's costing more to put gas in the generators than to do to eat. We don't even have, it's hot in the daytime, it's hot at night.
People lost everything, you know. It's just hurtful.
But help is on the way. Several community churches are pulling together and working with organizations and volunteers to bring back this area and help residents rebuild their homes and their lives.
God blessed me and my home wasn't destroyed, so I just feel like I need to bless other people and spread the blessings and help other people.
I strongly believe in paying things forward, so one day if somebody I know or myself or my family is going through this similar thing, that maybe one day we have people come help us. It's just the right thing to do in times like this.
One person hoping to make a big impact is this man, John Schnatter. Once famous for his pizza delivery chain, is now in the business of delivering hope.
Tell us about why you're here.
Well, when you're down on the ground and you personalize it, Jimmy, Roosevelt, Marvin, I mean, these are people's homes. And this is, you got to see it to believe it. A war zone, hurricanes, tornadoes, you just can't imagine. But we're with St. Mary's, Sam Tolbert and his team, the Baptist Convention, and of course you can get, giveawaywithpapa.com. We can do that. But this is just something that we can't overlook. We got to help folks like this because they're in dire need. This is just devastating. But we're all in this together. Let's make it happen. Let's get this place cleaned up.
We are all into this together, and on behalf of America's Voice News, I want to thank John Schnatter for flying us down to the area and for his very generous donation of several $100,000 that he made to help the residents there. We'll, of course, continue to keep a close watch on this area. As I mentioned, this is very dear to my heart. This is where I actually landed my first news anchor job. So we know you have a lot of work ahead of you, but you are resilient. And if you would like, for those of you watching, if you'd like to help the people of this area, you can do so by going to givebackwithpapa.com. Tudor?
Thank you, Miranda.
Miranda, good to have you here. So it is. Good to have you here, Miranda. I have to ask a couple quick questions about that because I know that when you do these stories, the video only does so much justice to what you're looking at there. And you can see the buildings that are destroyed and the RV that gets flipped over and the things that happen there. But I think it's got to be much worse when you're right there with your boots on the ground. Am I wrong about that?
You know what, Steve? I've covered so many different hurricanes throughout the years. I covered Hurricane Francis, Hurricane Jean, Hurricane Wilma, because obviously I reside in Florida. But I will tell you firsthand, this is the most destructive damage that I've ever seen from a hurricane. Now, originally they were saying that this was a Category 4 storm, again, one of the worst ones to hit this area since the 1850s. But now they're saying that it could actually be classified as a Cat 5 because they had some wind gusts being recorded to be as high as 200 miles per hour. Like I said in the story, there were neighborhoods, and I lived here. This was a place I called home.
Sure.
I couldn't even recognize. But you know what? I will say this, they're very organized, something that DC could learn from. It was so nice and refreshing, and it was actually John Schnatter who pointed this out. It was so nice to see Democrats, Republicans, regardless of your affiliation, working together to put this community back together. DC could learn a lot from them, and I know they're resilient and they will be able to rebuild not only their homes, but their lives.
Well, Miranda, thank you for doing that good reporting over the last couple of days. Really fascinating, all the things that are going on there, Tudor. And I know from covering storms and natural disasters myself that you can't always capture on camera what it looks like, the devastation and how impactful it is for those that are right there on the ground. So our hearts go out for those that are rebuilding from Hurricane Laura, that's for sure. Difficult time for those folks in Louisiana and Texas and that whole area that was devastated. I didn't know that there were 200-mile-per-hour wind gusts. That's an update, new news for us here at America's Voice, and new news for you as well, as Miranda Kahn brings us the latest from Hurricane Laura. We're going to take a quick break right here on America's Voice Live. Stick with us. A lot more to cover on this September the 11th, 9/11. We'll be right back.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. Micro Touch Solo, the hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. You've got to go solo. Call 1-800-709-9777 or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.
Welcome back to America's Voice Live on this September 11th, where we are remembering the terror attacks from 2001. And we had a lot of people that went off to war and joined our military, became service members after that attack because, like you said, Steve, the country was united and people felt so much pride in this country. So many men and women said they wanted to join the forces to protect our country in the future. And because of that, we want to bring in a special guy who we've talked to before, but his organization is very important on a day like this. It's Evan Owens. He's the co-founder and executive director of Reboot Recovery. Evan, tell us a little bit about what your organization does. We want to know because we know you work with veterans, and right now on this day, we certainly want to be honoring our veterans, especially those who joined after September 11th. So tell us a little bit about Reboot Recovery.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. Reboot Recovery helps veterans. We help first responders and their families overcome trauma so they can embrace a brighter future. And as you just said, it's not like the trauma ends when the deployment's over, or if they're a first responder, it's not like the minute they flip off the siren, suddenly the stress just drops off them. If not addressed, that stress, that trauma follows them home. Those sights, those sounds, those smells can begin to chip away at a person's well-being emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. And Reboot is there to help. We have peer-led, faith-based courses across the country. And if there's veterans or first responders watching, there's never been a better time than right now because many of our courses are virtual. You can sign up for a course anywhere in the country, in the nation, just through your computer.
So, Evan, you're saying that you focus on the men and women that have been on the front lines, whether it was a situation like 9/11 or a terrorist attack like that, or going off to Afghanistan or Iraq or some other foreign war, and seeing what they see, dealing with what they deal with, you know, the life, the death, the tragedy of sometimes seeing those in their platoon or their division killed by by those around them. Or at 9/11, of course, the towers collapsing and taking so many lives at the time from the FDNY and others. So you're there to help people on those front lines, whether it's in civil service or military service.
That's correct. And so many people, when we look back at our lives, yes, there's physical symptoms. We have anxiety, we have depression, we have sleeplessness. But there's even deeper rooted issues that a lot of times maybe aren't as talked about, like loss of trust in humanity, that we used to believe maybe the world was a good place, maybe people were good, but now we see all this trauma and this tragedy, this devastation, and there's something that sort of dies inside of us because what we witnessed in war isn't something natural to see. We weren't supposed to see people put in situations like we do, and so it can alter our view of the world in such a way that can be difficult to relate to others, and of course that becomes oftentimes what's labeled as post-traumatic stress or post-traumatic stress disorder.
What is your message for family members who come around these folks? Because I know for the family members who were left behind and didn't have those experiences, sometimes it's really difficult to understand what that person is going through and how to help them. So do you have any type of message for those folks?
Yeah, first I'll speak to all of those who have lost someone to combat, whether that's a Gold Star family or someone that maybe they honor them on Memorial Day. So often I hear families say, or other service members say, you know, I'd do anything to trade places with them. I would gladly let it take my life if they could live. And so my challenge to you is, if you would be willing to die for them, are you willing to live for them? Is there a way you can turn your pain into purpose and be able to leave a legacy for other people of selfless service by living really on their behalf, living in their honor? And then secondly, I'll say to family members of those who are struggling, sometimes those of us who are hurting, it can be difficult. We tend to push away the people sometimes who we need most in our lives. So first, be patient for them, continue praying for them, continue loving them, and also have difficult conversations. Let them know, hey, I'm having this conversation with you because I care about you and I love you. Whether you take my advice or don't take my advice, that's not going to change how I feel about you right here and right now. And I just want you to know that I'm here for you no matter what, and you matter. And that's the message that I would encourage anyone to share with someone who's hurting.
That's a great message, Evan. And I want to ask you this. Obviously, for the last 6 months, we've lived in a different world, to say the least, because of the pandemic. And so for those returning service members or those that have lost a loved one in the line of duty in law enforcement or in firefighting, an EMT or somebody that lost their life in a foreign war, a lot of these returning veterans or those that have had traumatic experiences on the front lines dealing with something like 9/11, suddenly they are isolated more than they should be. We know about the terrible statistic of 22 veterans a day taking their own life by way of suicide. Has this been more complicated, is what I'm asking you? The isolation brought on by the pandemic, the lockdowns, the social distancing. Has this made it more problematic for some of the people that you're trying to help?
Yeah, dramatically more complicated. I'd say first, oftentimes routine is the way that a lot of us govern our health. We keep routine to help us to not revert back to unhealthy coping mechanisms. And we're seeing a lot of people, unfortunately, go back to some addictive or some coping behaviors that maybe aren't helpful. But the other thing that's also been complicated, I think if we look back at Vietnam, we could see an era where our soldiers were devalued, where they were disgraced in many ways. And I fear sometimes that maybe because of a few situations, we're doing the same thing, especially with our law enforcement officers right now. And I see that happening where maybe there's a couple bad apples, but instead of that, we're calling them all, proverbial baby killers like they did in the Vietnam era. And we can't make that same mistake twice. We can't dishonor these people who give their lives, lay down their lives, put themselves in harm's way every day. We can't allow that as a country, and Reboot won't allow that to happen.
Evan Owens, the co-founder and executive director of Reboot Recovery. Always a pleasure to have you on. Thank you so much. And Steve, one of the things that we said that we would do today is honor those heroes, those everyday heroes across our country. And I want to talk about a story from Richmond, Virginia, a woman who was rushed to the hospital. It's a great story. She was rushed to the hospital. She felt herself as she was mowing her lawn, starting to get dizzy, feel faint. She called 911 and said, I think you got to take me to the hospital. Something's not right. When they arrived at her house, they found her by the lawnmower, unresponsive. They got her to the hospital and she was fine. But what she wasn't expecting was that as the EMTs were taking her to the hospital, one of the local firefighters, came to her house and decided to finish mowing her lawn. And so this is LaTanya Thomas, and she was so thankful that he finished mowing her lawn. She said, "I believe it was divinely ordered for those things to happen so young people can look at this young man and see that there are really kind people in this world that will do things for others and not expect anything in return." And he is the example. He really is a great example. His name is Bones Logan. And she gave him a hug. She said, "I know it's COVID time, but I want to give you a hug." He said, "Better than a medal."
There you go. You know, it restores my faith in humanity when I see stories like that, Tudor. It really does. I've been saying it for a long time now. We need more heroes. Bones is a hero. He's setting an example for the kids on his block to say, look, here's a lady that needs our help. What do? We step up and we help. You know, she needed her lawn mowed. And we can do this every day. We need more everyday American heroes, because that's a great story. Tudor, you're exactly right. It's a fabulous story. She gets taken to the hospital. She's not feeling well. The people rally around her. And I think this is what happens normally in America. The sad thing is we don't talk about it enough. We don't put a spotlight on it enough. We spend all of our time putting our spotlight on the noise and the nonsense and the hard times and the things that divide us. You know what? Those folks didn't talk politics in her front yard. They didn't care who they were voting for or what they thought of the headlines of the day. They thought, here's a lady who needs my help. And they stepped up and they helped her. And by the way, let's finish the job. Go ahead.
And what I love about this story is that she is the one saying, I want people to see him. I want people to see what this meant to me. And some of us might look at this and say, okay, so he mowed her lawn. But when you are single at home and you get sick and you go to the hospital and you come home and that's done, I mean, it's just, you really can tell in her words and in those pictures when you see her face.
Yeah, it's so much bigger. It may look like a small gesture to some, but it's those small gestures of saying, hey, we're neighbors, we're friends, we're in the same community. Those are the sorts of things we need, Tudor, to bring ourselves together. Not what divides us, what brings us together. Maybe it's just a simple act of kindness of mowing a lady's lawn who needed to go to the hospital. And that's a great story. And that's the America we truly are. This is America's Voice Live. Steve Groomer and Tudor Dixon. We'll be right back.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best sleep of my life. They are so soft and smooth. I never slept so good.
I fall asleep faster because I'm actually comfortable.
I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable, which is why I can give you my full 10-year warranty. But I didn't stop there. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. I guarantee you the first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now. MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors and will be the softest, most comfortable sheets you will ever own. Use the promo code and get 2 for 1 low price, plus free shipping. Giza Dreams are made with the finest, most sought-after cotton in the world. Giza cotton was once reserved for only the finest dress shirts, but is now available in Mike's Giza Dream Sheets. They feature a beautiful silky sateen weave that helps keep you cool and comfortable all night long.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best rest of my life.
I love my Giza Dream Sheets. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Use the promo code and Mike will give you a very special 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. That's right, get 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. Call or go online now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Continuing now with America's Voice Live, our reporter Ben Berquam, as you know, Tudor, has been working overtime out there working the California wildfires. He's been at the Creek Fire, a place that Ben knows quite well, actually, because he grew up in the area, went to high school in the area, but it looks terribly different today than it did back in those days. He's joining us live from California. And Ben, the Creek Fire is still not under control, and wow, you look like you're right in the thick of it right there.
Yeah, no, it's only 6% contained as of this morning. I was down at a briefing just a few moments ago, and they're trying to get the southern end of it contained. I'm actually at a location right here. The fire's coming up the canyon. For reference sake, for folks that live in the area, I'm right off of 168, about 2 miles south of Cressman's. And right beside me, you can see the firefighters are waiting. They've actually sent a couple scouts down over the mountain here. You can see the smoke rising up actually right near where I'm parked up the road here just a little ways. And the difficulty with this fire in particular, and all the fires in the Sierra, is the terrain. This is very steep mountainside, steep canyons. And when the fire comes through, it's hard to know sometimes where it's going to go. And with the intermittent kind of sporadic winds we've had over the last couple days, it's been really difficult to gauge that. It was blowing southeast and then northeast. So in two totally opposite directions throughout the last couple of days. And we were up here yesterday and showing the devastation. It's just, it's terrible to see.
Is there any hope that weather's going to treat you right, that you might get a break in the weather that could help you out and maybe slow this down? 6% contained basically means they've got a long way to go, Ben. You've got, of course, the smoke jumpers and the guys in there doing the work on the front lines of this fire. But I see the trucks are parked, and it looks to me like visibility is terrible there. So does that mean the tankers fly? Do the firefighters go? Do they hold their position? What's happening right there where you are?
Right. The tankers don't fly typically in dangerous conditions like this. They have to fly so low. When the smoke gets this thick, they can't fly through it. So yesterday they weren't flying in this area, and I haven't heard any of them today. There is marks where they have dropped the retardant across the freeway, but I think that was from a couple days ago. So right now it's all manpower, and that's the difficulty too. They're actually sitting up here. The reason why these trucks are just sitting here is because they don't know exactly where the fire is. They're waiting for it to appear through the smoke. And so rather than sending people down directly into the fire, not knowing exactly where that fire is, they wait. They've sent a couple scouts down to check it out, but until they know for sure and until they have a plan of attack of where the best place to locate and to set this perimeter, they basically wait and let the fire kind of move along. It's only when it's threatening houses and structures and buildings and life that they move in they really have to balance that, putting the firefighters at risk versus allowing it to burn or putting structures and other members of the population at risk.
Ben, we know there is a state of emergency in Oregon right now because of wildfires. Are there evacuations in that area? Because one of the problems that they had in Louisiana during Hurricane Laura was, where will people go in COVID times when hotels are not taking people in? So are there evacuations? And if so, where are these people staying?
Yeah, I want to show you that's actually a fire lighting right up on the side of the hill behind me. This is how volatile it is. There's so many of these little hot spots that just start up, and that just lit up right in front of me. So there's about 10,000 other ones right in this area, so it can start anywhere. There are evacuations. My parents were evacuated. Friends of mine have been evacuated from the southern mountain. All of this area has been evacuated since Saturday, and so yes, they've done a very wide evacuation because of the sporadic nature of the winds, not knowing what direction the fire was going to go. They've really done a good job at getting people out. But the worst part about this, and again, you can see this burning, is the amount of undergrowth, the trees, the density of the trees, everything just leads this to be a more difficult fire to fight. And that's the case all across the state of California, where we've got too many trees, too many dead trees, too much undergrowth because we haven't done the controlled burns, we haven't done the logging and the forest management that we've needed. So people are evacuated, but we've seen, as you can see from the footage we got yesterday, hundreds of homes destroyed, businesses destroyed, lives, in shambles. And, on top of that, they're not just evacuated now. Some of the people in the lowlands, in the foothills, they're not at risk really. But the problem is all of that area, a lot of that has been they've lost power to it. And so they won't be able to get back into their homes for weeks, if not months in some areas, because the power lines are down, and it's going to take a very long time to restore the power when PG&E is stretched thin all the way across the state with all of the fires going on from north to south.
Man, those pictures are just heartbreaking, Ben. When you look around and you see all of the devastation of the pictures and the places and, like you say, the businesses and the homes destroyed and horse farms gone and all the things that people are dealing with. I do have one question real quickly. I keep hearing the word unprecedented. I hear that a lot these days. You probably do too. But I'm curious. You grew up there. You've dealt with wildfires. It's a seasonal problem in California and throughout the western United States. How does this stack up in your memory?
Well, it is, I would say, and not to be too cliche, sorry about that, not to be too cliche, just want to show you that little flame again, but it is unprecedented. I've never seen this. Over 2 million acres burned, no end in sight, really. Thankfully, it is a little cooler today. The winds seem to have died down a little bit, but they typically pick up in the afternoon. I would say it is unprecedented in my lifetime. Now, obviously, in the history of the world, you can't say that. But what we're seeing right now is unprecedented fires because of 30 years of lack of forest management. We have overgrown forest, and what we're seeing is it's getting worse and worse and worse. And it's not because of the drought per se. The drought impacts it because now you have all these trees fighting for a limited resource, but it's because we have not allowed the forest to behave like a natural forest would. Typically fires start and they burn through, they clear out the undergrowth. What we've done in California is stop all wildfires. We've stopped all controlled burns. We've stopped timber harvesting. And now we have this situation. So it is, I would say, unprecedented, but it's also man-made. It doesn't have to be this way. And that's the unfortunate thing about this whole situation.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you for being out there and reporting on this. Stay safe. Steve, it really is shocking when you see the haze around them. We keep seeing, I don't know if on your side of the state you're seeing what I'm seeing, but at night we keep seeing these sunsets that are bright pink and orange, and they're telling us it's because of the fires over on the West Coast. Are you seeing that as well?
We are seeing it here a little bit farther away. It is dramatic. You get all that particulate, of course, into the western sky, and when the sun sets, of course, it creates these great colors. I guess that's the silver lining for us, Tudor, but I'm so glad we don't have to live through what they're living through in California. What a terrible, devastating fire season they're dealing with right now. Hopefully the rain will come sometime soon. Quick break now on America's Voice Live. Steve Groomer and Tudor Dixon. We'll be right back.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly beating? Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this. Let's stack the deck.
When legends play, they wear Copperfit Advanced Back Pro. Copperfit's best-selling compression back support just got better with new double-band adjustable supports for customizable compression when you need it most.
Since I put this on, I feel so much better.
The core is the most important thing. To know that I'm stabilized here. Whatever I'm doing, I can give it 100%.
4 built-in stabilizing supports designed to improve posture and help reduce lower back stress and strain.
You have back pain, and it's affecting your everyday life. You do something.
If you can find something to help you get back out and be active, like Copperfit, go for it.
Absolutely.
Do not give up.
A high-performance compression fabric infused with the powerful properties of copper, 360-degree flexible mobility, and lightweight, durable construction.
Nothing more painful than having back pains. If you're aching, if you feel like you can't work out anymore, you can. And that's with Copperfit.
It's for all of us who still want to be active, still want to compete.
Way to go. That's what I'm talking about. Man, this really does feel good. It feels to me like the fountain of youth.
Copperfit's best-selling back support just got bigger, badder, and better. Or call 1-800-944-5851. Or on the web at advancedbackpro.com. Get yours now for only $19.99.
This does feel good.
That's what I've been saying.
You think it was fair?
It was fun.
Play for the love of the game.
Copperfit, live limitless.
As you know, the president, Donald Trump, nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize here just a couple of days ago. A remarkable accomplishment. He actually got nominated for work that he did and didn't win the prize 11 days into his presidency. It's shocking, I realize. But now we've got breaking news that Bahrain is now going to normalize relations with Israel, which is the latest Arab country to join the movement after UAE broke the ice. And of course, this comes after the president also moved the Israeli embassy to Jerusalem. You may remember we were told that there would be bloodshed, war, chaos, death, and destruction if the embassy was moved to Jerusalem. Not only did that not happen, but the president made the greatest strides in Middle East peace in a generation. In fact, just moments ago, he had a chance to weigh in on the Middle East peace process and where it's going. Here's the president.
And by the way, I want to thank Mohammed, who's a great leader, a truly great leader, at the White House on Tuesday. So they'll be here on Tuesday for the signing of the Abraham Accords. The significance of the signing will be elevated from an already historic breakthrough to one representing a previously unthinkable regional transformation. And that's exactly what it is. It's unthinkable that this could happen and so fast. And as you know, when we did the original signing with, and which will actually take place in terms of official on Tuesday, United Arab Emirates, people thought that was amazing. And now they're hearing this, and they're also hearing from other countries because they understand that other countries want to very much come in. On this occasion, I want to thank the leaders of Israel and Bahrain for their vision and courage to forge this historic agreement. Their leadership is proving that the future can be filled with hope and does not need to be predetermined by conflicts of the past. You know all about the conflicts of the past. They're very legendary. There was a lot of problems going on, but we've been able to work things out to a level that nobody thought possible. This is really something very special, very, very special. As more countries normalize relations with Israel, which will happen quite quickly, we believe, the region will become more and more stable, secure, and prosperous. In the meantime, we're pulling most of our soldiers out. So we're doing it the opposite way. They were doing it with nothing but fighting and blood all over the place. The sand was loaded up with blood.
And if you missed it yesterday, one of the most remarkable exchanges I've seen in a long time, Tudor, Richard Grinnell stood up there talking to reporters who obviously have no idea how significant this is. I can remember the Camp David Accords in 1979, Menachem Begin, Anwar Sadat, Jimmy Carter, bringing together the Middle East peace plan of those three countries in 1979. So this process has gone on my entire life. People don't realize how important this truly is to the region. This is why in Israel they have streets named after Donald Trump. This is why they have put monuments up to Donald Trump after the embassy was moved to Jerusalem. So he's got Bahrain on board now, along with the UAE. Other countries are going to come. This should be top of the fold, headline, breaking news, leading the news every day. But instead you have a White House press corps that is so intent on dragging this president down, they ignore these seminal accomplishments. I mean, this is not some small thing. This is changing the entire course of world history by finally getting people to invest in the idea of, hey, maybe we can have peace in our region and truly have peace in our time. But unlike Neville Chamberlain, not doing it with appeasement, by doing it through strength and doing it through good deals. And so here's the president, nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize, bringing together yet more countries in a process and a march toward peace. This should be celebrated. Of course, the Democrats won't do that. The Washington Press Corps won't do that. But we should certainly look at how important and historical this truly is, Tudor.
Absolutely. Richard Grinnell had to scold the press corps because he came out and announced that he announces these peace agreements. Great. And they just begin attacking on all of these subjects. They just don't want you to hear, and I think that's very telling for this election, Steve. They don't want you to hear any accomplishments from this president. And these are, like you said, huge accomplishments in our lifetime. What has happened in this region for this for this agreement to be signed, for any of these agreements to be signed, for airplanes to be flying over Saudi Arabia from Israel to the UAE. These are historic times in such a wonderful way, and yet you have a press corps that wants to know what Trump ate for lunch and why he ate it.
And here's the thing. In short order, Saudi Arabia is going to join this group of countries. And that's going to be the most historic of all. What's happening here, if you're missing the real big picture here, Iran is going to be the odd man out. Iran is going to be the country that's going to be the pariah in the Middle East, not dictating state-sponsored terrorism anymore. The president has manipulated a peace plan that involves Bahrain, the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Israel, Egypt, Jordan, bringing together the whole region and forcing Iran into a position of weakness because the allies and the people they try to manipulate historically have all joined the peace process, saying we don't want war. We want a productive region where there's peace and prosperity. Good for you, Mr. President. This is America's Voice Live.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best sleep of my life. They are so soft and smooth. I never slept so good.
I fall asleep faster because I'm actually comfortable.
I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable, which is why I can give you my full 10-year warranty. But I didn't stop there. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. I guarantee you the first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now. MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors and will be the softest, most comfortable sheets you will ever own. Use the promo code and get 2 for 1 low price, plus free shipping. Giza Dreams are made with the finest, most sought-after cotton in the world. Giza cotton was once reserved for only the finest dress shirts, but is now available in Mike's Giza Dream Sheets. They feature a beautiful silky sateen weave that helps keep you cool and comfortable all night long.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best rest of my life.
I love my Giza Dream Sheets.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Use the promo code and Mike will give you a very special 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. That's right, get 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. Call or go online now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back to America's Voice Live. Thank you for joining us on this Friday, September 11th. We are 19 years from the terror attacks, that fateful 9/11 in 2001. And as a way to honor that day and honor those folks' lives who perished in those attacks that day, we want to talk about first responders that are doing great things around our country today. And in fact, just last week, some police officers in San Mateo, California, they are being hailed heroes for saving a choking toddler. And Steve, this is something that we talk about so often on this show, that these police officers are doing great things. And you often bring up, you hear about the police officer who does CPR on the baby, and this just happened. This just happened on Thursday. But it's really great because there were these 3 officers. They went out and they found that this child was choking, but the family didn't speak English. So in the midst of all of the chaos, they had one officer who was translating into Spanish while they saved the choking toddler, and they were able to save her. She still is in the hospital having tests done. This was just a week ago, but they were able to get her breathing again.
You see, and there's the story that you don't hear, that you need to hear. We need to hear those stories more often. In a day and age when law enforcement is demonized and turned into villains, and we're telling school kids that police are bad, which they're not. Police are your friend. Look at all the times that you have to call and say, hey, I've got a child that's sick. I've got somebody who's injured. There's been a traffic accident. My son and I witnessed a traffic accident here a few months ago, right in front of us, and it was bad. And within moments, there were state police on the scene, and they were professional. They were helping people. They helped all the people at the scene. We don't want less police. We want better police. That's not so much to ask, I suppose, but we want more of it. I mean, come on, people. These really are everyday heroes. And we should celebrate them as such, especially on 9/11. Tudor, I agree with you on that. And not long ago, Winston-Salem firefighters were recognized for saving an elderly wheelchair-bound woman. And again, here are folks out there that are being, attacked, mocked, insulted. Please, let's give these folks some credit. Listen to this.
After getting past the down lines, they found the house.
The wife was standing on the front porch, and she said that her husband was still in there, so we went right to work.
My adrenaline was pumping pretty hard. It's something that we train for a lot, but it doesn't happen that regularly.
We mask up, we go right in, and this is what we're trained to do, so we go, just don't really think anything else about it, really. We just kind of, make sure it's safe, go right in, get the occupant out. That's our one goal.
It was a little bit difficult just because he's in an automated wheelchair, and we weren't sure if it was working.
They're pretty fixed to the ground, so we did basically just kind of pull the chair with him in it to the front of the house and then got him out onto the porch safely.
May I ask you a question? I'd like to ask a question because as I look at that, Tudor, there's black firefighters and white firefighters. Do you think they care at all about race? Because there are those in this country that would have you believe the most important thing is about race and white privilege and people not working together and the division in this country. I just saw a group of Americans working together to save a life, and they didn't care if the person in the wheelchair was white or black or whatever they were. It didn't matter. The guys working to save that life were Americans to save a fellow American. And again, I come back to those are the stories we need here, my friends, because that's the real America. The one that you see where they're burning down cities and they're saying that these people are racist and these people are misogynist, that's a caricature of nonsense and garbage. It's absolutely not true. You know it and so do I. This is a good country with good people, and that little clip right there once again restores my belief in good people in my community and yours and this entire nation. Thank you for letting that play.
Well, and you point that out. I think something that is important to point out with that right now, when you look at the division in this country, a lot of our governors are, they're pushing the divide even wider. So if you take, for example, the governor that we both have here in Michigan, Governor Whitmer, she has, a few months ago, she ordered racial bias training for all healthcare workers. So a similar situation where you have people on the front lines, exactly what you were saying, Steve. These folks do not hesitate. They don't see color when someone comes in. They immediately get to work. And our healthcare workers across the state were shocked when she said this.
Did it look to you? Did it look to you like those folks needed training and racial sensitivity? Right. No, they looked like they needed medals pinned on their chests. That's what it looked like to me. And that's the way I see America. I see people working together like that all the time. We need more of that. What we need more of, because it happens all the time. We need to put it on the TV screen. You and I need to talk about it, Tudor. We need to say, hey, look at these great people being great Americans. Not hyphenate Americans, not this hyphen American, not that hyphen American. Just Americans doing what we do, which is rolling up our sleeves, working hard, looking out for our neighbors, mowing the lawn, as we saw earlier. That was a great story. This is a great story because there are a lot of great Americans around us, Tudor. We need more of those stories, and I think we should endeavor to do that right here. What do you think?
Absolutely. This is the place to come and see. We are America's voice. That's why we are bringing you American stories. We have the eye on America. That's why we looked across the country on this September 11th and said, what do these first responders do that we don't hear about? Because you don't hear your local news anymore, Steve. We have a 24-hour news cycle where people are constantly tuned in, but it's mostly political. And so when you see folks out there, BLM folks, fighting the police, a lot of times, if you really think about it, they're not seeing these stories. We are no longer hearing about the hometown heroes. It's not something we focus on. The news has to be bad and sensational to get the ratings. And so we're not putting that out there. But that's what we want to do differently here on this program. And it's so important at this time. Like I said, you've got this racial bias training in healthcare, but we also have this white privilege training happening in schools right now, Steve. So we have so many young white boys who are immediately feeling like they've done something wrong. They're not hearing the history. Instead of teaching the history, this is what we've done as Americans. These are the things we did right. These are the things we've done wrong. You can become a good person from learning history instead of being told you're racist and you don't know it. But this is also history. This is our current history that's happening right now. This is what our first responders are doing that is not happening in the 24-hour news cycle. It's not getting told.
Exactly right. And I don't think the stories, when I was in elementary school, they would bring in the police officer. He's your friend. We would talk about such things. You would have, if we had the DARE program, that the police officers came in. It was marginally successful. Maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. But the point was you had interaction with police in the classroom. I wonder how much of that we have anymore. You've got the 1619 Project that's been discredited across the board as being garbage. You've got Howard Zinn writing textbooks that's a nasty fictional depiction of the United States. Also not true, not accurate, not fair on any level. And so we need to step up. And we need to say, you know what, there are a lot of great stories about this country that you need to hear about. And some of them are 200 years old, and some of them happened today. Some of those happened today. You know, whether it's the emergency first responders going out there and doing what's right. But I am just taken by that video for the same reason you are. I'm watching real Americans stand shoulder to shoulder to do the right thing. They're not divided. They are united, and they are good for us. And we should be talking about those stories. We should be putting a spotlight on that, not some multimillionaire athlete on his knee protesting his privileged life. Whether he's white or black, I don't care. But some of the most privileged people in the world sitting on their knees, complaining, if you will, in my estimation, when you've got heroes like this, real heroes. And I'm going to guess the folks we saw there saving that woman in the wheelchair, I'm going to guess they stand for the national anthem. Tudor, what do you think?
I think so, and I have a feeling that if more people heard about folks like LaTanya Thomas and Bones, the fireman who came and helped her, Bones Logan, they would see that. Look at that story. You have a white firefighter and a black woman who was taken to the hospital, never hesitated to say, I'm going to finish mowing her lawn. Like I said, it seems like a little gesture to us. It meant the world to her, and that was in Virginia, which we're being told is completely divided. These are stories from across the country. We're going to keep bringing them to you here on America's Voice Live. We have more to come. We're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back.
The hottest new razor is taking the men's grooming world by storm. And if you don't have it, you need it. Micro Touch Solo, the hyper-advanced full-body razor that trims, shapes, edges, and even shaves with micro precision. And it's totally safe to the touch. Go solo for full body control with one tool. No nicks, bumps, or ingrown hairs. Edge beards and goatees with one touch. Clean your neck, barber shop perfect. And check this out. Snap on the guide to tame growth and perfectly shape your full beard. And keep new growth stubble trimmed exactly to your style. And look, the Solo Full Body Groomer trims precisely the length of hair you want. Snap off the guide and remove unwanted hair anywhere in seconds. What makes Solo different than your ordinary razor? Dual-sided German stainless steel blade. Shave up or down at 200 microstrokes per second. The Ultra Flex pivoting head contours perfectly to you for precise results. 3 custom grooming guides for control of exact length and shape. And a built-in LED light so you never miss a spot. Solo is so precise, you need no creams, no soaps, and no water. Ditch the old man clippers and toss the scissors. you've got to go solo. Call 1-800-709-9777 or go online at microtouchsolo.com and get yours now for only $19.99. Complete with German stainless steel blade, pivoting head, built-in spotlight, and 3 custom grooming guides. Everything you see here for just $19.99. The all-new MicroTouch Solo Full Body Groomer. The one tool that does it all.
America's Voice Live on September the 11th. Good to have you here. Steve Groomer and Tudor Dixon, marking 19 years since the Twin Towers fell. An important time to reflect. Please take time and think about it yourself and reflect on it. We also have a very special interview. Our own Dr. Gina Loudon went to the Faith Summit at the Falkirk Center and had a chance to speak with Charlie Kirk. I'd like to share that with you right now.
And Charlie Kirk with me now. He's been knocking on doors. He started his podcast, what, Charlie? Maybe a year ago?
Year and a half ago, yeah.
A year and a half already. Wow, time flies. And it's been so tremendously successful. You're syndicating and going up on radio now. Congratulations.
Thank you so much. And congratulations on your show as well.
Thank you. Yeah, we're doing exciting things too. But you have really not stopped for a second for the president.
Yes.
I know 25 states, I believe, in like a little over 30
That's
days,
correct.
if I'm not mistaken.
Every battleground state and every state in between, from Maine, going to Minnesota actually this weekend.
Very exciting.
Minnesota's in play. The president can win Minnesota.
So I believe that too.
Yeah.
I want to back up just a little bit though. I want you to tell me about that. But I am just so wondering how it is you do the logistics of this. How do you do the podcast, and now you're going to syndicate a radio show, and you do all of this while you're knocking on doors for the president in 25 states in 30 days?
Also running Turning Point USA, our 501c3 side.
Yeah.
We have Falkirk. We got all sorts of different things going on.
And you're doing TV all the time, and you're making speeches all over the country. And just the logistics
great team.
of
First
this.
of all, I wish I could take credit for it. We have an unbelievable team at Turning Point Action, Turning Point USA. Tyler Boyer does an amazing job for us. No, it's incredible.
Tyler is great.
It's great, and I just work here. So I travel and I speak. And look, it's really, we have a kind of our mission statement. We operate where we play offense with a sense of urgency to win America's culture war. And the main part of that is sense of urgency. That's been lacking from the conservative movement. Some people agree we're losing the country, but I think it's more imminent than ever before. And we need to be acting more, we need to be donating more, we need to be knocking on more doors. We're running out of time here. The clock on Western civilization is ticking.
It is.
And so we need to double and triple our efforts. I am trying to embody that, not just say that. So I'm first and foremost an activist, and then all those other things. Podcast, radio, and all that. But the most important thing for me is I'm actually trying to do something about this, not just talk about it.
And so what is your greatest fear with this upcoming election? Where are we the most
vulnerable,
or the most at risk? What could catch us blindsided?
Well, the mail-in ballot thing is a huge problem, and some Republicans are coming out and saying, "Oh, it helps us." I don't understand how that is even remotely the case when you have thousands and tens of thousands and millions of ballots going out that no one requested. I mean, I know people that have gotten 6 ballots sent to their home, and no one has a good answer to this at all. And so it's very possible, in fact, the Bloomberg group admitted this, that there'd be a red mirage. I'm horrified that we will be celebrating on election night, and they're going to steal it from us in the coming weeks.
So is there a preparation for that?
There needs to be.
A lot of people who are donating big money are asking me, are we prepared for that?
Probably not.
And how does one prepare for that?
Well, just ask Young Kim. Young Kim in Orange County, California, went to freshman orientation as a Republican congresswoman. And while she was at freshman orientation, they tapped her on her shoulder. And they said, "Hey, just kidding, you lost your race." And then she said, "What do you mean?" They said, "They just found another 7,000 ballots, and most of them were out of your favor." She said, "I'm at orientation." They said, "No, you got to go back. You're done."
Yeah.
People, this was just in 2018. This was just, she went to orientation. She thought the election was so in her favor. So look, the answer is we should be filing lawsuits across the country, and we're not. The Democrats are filing 30 lawsuits for every one that we file. And so I'm not pessimistic about it. I think that it can still be fixed, but if we don't get, and look, the president agrees with me. I've talked to him about this at length. He knows the vote by mail thing can be the greatest fraud in American history. That you can go march in the streets, you can go to a cannabis dispensary, you can get an abortion, can't go to church, you can go to Home Depot, Lowe's, or the grocery store, Starbucks, but you can't go to vote. I mean, I ate at a Chili's yesterday, okay? This is not a commercial for Chili's, but people were plenty up and close to each other, okay? And these are the same people that are now saying, I can't go vote. Like, just stop it, okay?
Right.
You could do the same election you did in 2016. If you think masks work, then go wear 4 of them, and go wear a face shield, okay? And go vote. Keep the integrity of our elections. This is not the election to go blow it up. That's the first vulnerability. The second vulnerability is social media and tech fraud. And no one's talking about this. Very few people are, because most of the Republican Party is purchased by Silicon Valley. Most of them are just proxies by the big tech companies. But it's Google has said they're not going to let Trump win. They've said that. And so whether or not they have as much power as we think they do, we'll see. So if Trump loses, which I don't think he will, but if Trump loses, it'll be because of vote by mail and social media.
So you want to activate your folks out there, young and old. We want everybody involved. That's what everybody talks about all the time. But you've got these activists out there who feel a little helpless, Charlie. They feel like, I may knock on every single door. I can donate all the money I have. I can do everything in my power as an activist, and it could still be taken away from me.
Yes.
What do you say to that person?
Well, there are very few of those people. I want to be very clear. They're out there, but there's a lot of people who think they're being active, and they're not. And this is just a harsh wake-up call for the conservative movement. I mean, I tell the people, like, oh, I'm an activist. All right, who are your 5 school board members, and what are they fighting through right now? When was the last time you went to a meeting? And the answer is almost never. We have just decided school board races don't matter. And so don't give me this whole long speech about how big. I'm not trying to diminish them. There's plenty of great activists out there, and you and I know them from the Tea Party movement. There's people that really make a whole spirit out of it. But we don't have an activist culture in the conservative movement. We have a spectator culture. And we're actually better spectators than the left. We listen to more talk radio. We watch more Fox News. We share more social media posts. We as conservatives are actually way more of a spectator culture. The left is less spectator culture, more activist culture. They actually listen to Maddow less. They don't listen to as much talk radio. They don't share as much social media content, but they're actually way more involved than we are. So how did that happen? So there's a transmission gap here between what we're processing, what we're doing. And so look, the people that if we had right now, we will win if 1 million people work as hard as they possibly can. That's all it's going to take. It takes 1 million conservative activists. But I can tell you right now, we're doing Super Saturdays across the country. Okay, we do Super Saturday in Western Michigan, North Carolina, where we're getting people to go knock on doors. I've never had such difficulty getting people active over the age of 40. The young people are out there in numbers. But there's just kind of I'm really worried about the country. Okay, you're watching Rush Limbaugh and watching Tucker, and you bought a pillow. Like, congratulations, okay? And you gave $35 to Trump. Why don't you go do something about it? And I'm trying to raise the temperature of expectations in the conservative movement, because we could do so much more, and we should.
And so what's your charge to that person who's sitting at home right now? What do they do? Give them an instruction right now.
Go make 10,000 phone calls for Trump in the next 2 weeks.
And how do they do that? And how do they know who to call?
I mean, it's so simple. I mean, you just contact any one of the victory offices. You can go to tpaction.com, our 501c4. We have Super Saturdays across the country. I can't promote the campaign stuff because I'm not part of the campaign, but I'm sure if one person goes to donaldjtrump.com, they could find out places to do it. Your county party should be doing that if you're afraid to leave your home, and that's fine, because there's ways to remote dial from home where you could literally make calls without having to go to a phone bank. But here's the biggest question. We think way so macro. Go own your precinct. This is if I had to say what's wrong with the conservative activist movement right now, it is we're thinking way too big by not thinking small. How are your neighbors voting? Have you talked to them? Have you taken them out to coffee or lunch? They say, well, it's uncomfortable. I'm like, well, then that's the biggest problem.
Yeah.
Conservatives are more likely to want to go to a neighborhood 30 miles away from them than go to their neighbor's home. Think about that.
Local politics is the most uncomfortable.
It's most uncomfortable. It's most personal. Like, well, I'm really willing to go, if I live in Palm Beach, to Orlando to go tell people about Trump, but go knock on doors, I don't know. I might have, that's exactly the problem, right?
And the people in the church pews next to you.
There are tens of thousands of precincts that will determine the future of our country. Own your precinct. A precinct is maybe 100 doors, maybe 200, depending how many precincts your state has in your county. Own the block. Know how they're voting. Supply the yard signs. We have them for sale at tpaction.com. There is a Trump yard sign deficit in our country. We're trying to fill it as an outside group. We're selling them for just that cost, right? So we're supplying activists with tens. I'm a yard sign believer. These consultants are like, oh, yard signs don't win elections. Like, that's foolish. You have no idea what you're talking about. Because when Sally Sue has a Trump yard sign and there's 500 cars that drive by, people know Sally Sue's house. And it makes them more likely to support Trump. So I'm a big believer. And I've seen it work. So that's just my opinion. And by the way, they're also really good indicators of who's going to win. But look, here's the biggest thing is are you really doing enough, or are you saying you're doing enough? I'm trying to challenge that premise every single day, right? I'm like, can I be doing more to save this country, right? Traveling, raising money, doing podcast, radio, campus visits. You're doing so much. You know, if you're not exhausted, then I think you're not doing enough. And there's a lot of conservatives that are, and I will say, to your point, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. I guess, like, okay, I mean, you show up to the county office every single day and you knock on doors till your hands bleed. So that's how I got my start in politics, right? And that's how more people should as well.
Yeah, well, I think that's sage advice, and especially because there's so little time left, and you're going to wake up the day after it's over one way or another.
Well, it might take days and weeks.
It might.
And then Biden might all of a sudden, they might find ballots for Biden. I'm telling you, don't be surprised if that happens. And if that happens, the country's done. If it happens in that fashion, where if there's a high of a Trump victory and then a low of a Biden ballot, I don't want to, I'm telling you right now, that is not going to be a good circumstance. It's not. And I'm not saying that it's going to get violent. I'm not supporting it. I'm saying the chaos that will ensue from that, from, oh, we have another 4 years of Trump, to just kidding, we found these ballots, you will lose faith in the entire system.
Yeah.
A lot of people will. And that's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie Kirk.
Thank you, Gina.
That was Dr. Gina Loudon and Charlie Kirk at the Falkirk Center for the Faith Summit yesterday. Steve, something he was talking about, yard signs. You and I've heard you talking about this on your morning show about yard signs. We've seen a lot of Trump yard signs. Yesterday, for the first time, I saw one of those highway signs, the really big Trump Pence signs that was spray painted black. That was the first one that I've seen so far that has been vandalized. But on my way down to Indiana last weekend, I saw multiple. I mean, it was, I had my mom counting with me. We were counting Trump signs. We got up to 6. We saw one Biden sign. And then I told you I went to that Trump boat parade, and every other house had a Trump Pence flag.
You know, I've seen the same phenomenon. Here's the thing. In Michigan and Ohio, once again, it started about 2 weeks ago now. They're blooming like wildflowers in the spring, the Trump signs are, and big ones. And I see some occasional Biden signs. I wonder what went wrong in their household for that to happen. But all kidding aside, I do see a tremendous amount of Trump signs, but just coming out. I don't know if there's a Trump sign deficit like Charlie said. Maybe there is. But I think there's also a whole group of people, because I've talked to them. I say, you want Trump sign? Hey, you know, I'm going to vote for him, but I don't really want the sign because I don't want to catch static from my neighbor. I don't want something to happen to my yard. I know a whole host of people who've had signs stolen already this year. And I've got this thing on Twitter where somebody cleverly put a little shocker in the Trump signs. The guy comes up and he's on one of those Ring doorbells and he comes up to steal the sign. I think, you know, I could use one of those just for personal entertainment, you know, just have it on a live feed camera somewhere. And yeah, go ahead and try to steal that sign, pal. Because let's be honest, that's not cool. That never used to happen when I was growing up. People didn't go around, at least I don't think so. They didn't go around and vandalize signs and tear signs down and, you know, and threaten people and bully people. Listen, I've got a different opinion than you. So what? That's America. That's what it's supposed to be about. If I've got an opinion that's different than yours, well, then so be it. Move on. I think, though, if it is about yard signs, right now, and this is in town and out in the country, the Trump signs far outnumber the Biden signs. In fact, it's not even close.
Right, absolutely. No, I remember in 2016 it was still okay. Well, at least in my neighborhood, we had friends that were Clinton folks and Trump folks, and they would wake up in the morning and have the obviously opposite candidate, their yard would be filled with signs, and everybody thought that was great fun. I don't think it'd go over so well this year. But I do want to go back to the Faith Summit because Governor Mike Huckabee spoke there talking about faith being so important right now, and obviously faith is important during this pandemic, and our churches have been closed. Let's take a listen to what Governor Huckabee had to say.
I want to make something very clear. The power of the gospel is not dependent upon the existence of the United States of America. Some people think, oh, America can't fall. Why, that'd be the end of the gospel. That's nonsense. There was a gospel long before there was an America. And if America were to fall, I pray it doesn't, but if it were, the Lord Jesus Christ is still the Lord Jesus Christ. His blood still saves from sin. We still have our faith.
Hopefully our faith will help us so that America doesn't fall, though, Steve.
No, that's powerful words. You know, Mike Huckabee, I thought, was a pretty powerful candidate when he ran for president a couple of times. I was also surprised, I heard him talk about it on the program here yesterday, that he immediately got behind Donald Trump, which he did. And at the time that happened, I'll be honest with you, I was surprised with Mike Huckabee dropping out and instantly getting behind the president. I thought those two would be like oil and water, but in fact they are not. And so I'm reading the stories again now, like I read in 2016, how evangelicals are fleeing from Donald Trump. Don't kid yourself. Evangelicals look at the seat held by Ruth Bader Ginsburg with admiration because they think it can be theirs someday soon. And they know that it cannot be theirs if they elect a guy who believes that abortion is okay up to the moment of birth. I never talk about abortion as a general rule, but when you have governors like Northam in Virginia and Cuomo in New York saying that having an abortion up to the moment of birth is okay and legal, I'm sorry, that crosses a line that I think violates the ideals of many people. Even pro-choice people in this country, I believe, are violated by that notion. And for that reason alone, I think people of faith, evangelicals, will once again break hard for President Trump because they know the alternative is far worse. And the fact of the matter is, he is the choice that they have. Evangelicals will continue. That's why the Faith Summit attracts people like Mike Huckabee, a strong vocal supporter of the president from the first day that he left his campaign to join the president's. Bank it. It's America's Voice Live.
Stay tuned to get a free pan from Granite Stone. Stuck on eggs, burnt on batter. You can scrub and scrape, but you can't escape the nightmare of your sticky pans. Introducing the Granite Stone Pan, the all-new durable non-stick pan. No butter or oil needed. Watch, we melted down these sticky candies in Granite Stone, and it just doesn't stick. We cooked a half a dozen eggs, bacon, cheese, and tomato breakfast with no butter or oil, and it just doesn't stick. Look, caramels, chocolate, and cheese. Unreal for any other pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction, then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus, it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-850-0237. That's 1-800-850-0237, or order online at buygranitestone.com. That's 1-800-850-0237. Call now.
As we were discussing before the break here in America's Voice Live, the Faith Summit being held at the Falkirk Center. And Ryan Helfenbein is the director of the Falkirk Center. And the real question for me is, what does happen to those evangelical voters this fall? Ryan, welcome to the program. Good to have you here.
Hey, it's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
So we were just talking before the break about how the evangelical vote is going to break. 4 years ago, we were told Donald Trump had offended everybody. Evangelicals would not possibly vote for him. And now we've got a president who has selected 2 conservative justices, associate justices to the United States Supreme Court. I think it's just as important today, maybe more so, because we know that Ruth Bader Ginsburg and Breyer are both in their 80s. 2 seats are up for grabs. And that would mean that Roe v. Wade from 1973 could actually be on the line, Ryan. What do you think is going to happen with the evangelicals based on the Faith Summit and everything that you're hearing?
Well, I definitely think that there is a lot of energy behind the president this time, even more so than in 2016. And it's largely because he now has a record and not just rhetoric that he is running on. So when you think about what was happening in 2016, many evangelicals were hopeful that the president would actually, at the time, it was candidate Donald Trump, that his rhetoric at least sounded better than Hillary Clinton. Now he has a record to run on. And when you look at that record, the top of that list, of course, are 2 appointments to the highest court in the land, followed by 200 other federal judges. And then you look at everything else that he has run on, also being the first president to speak at the March for Life. So when you think about all of the energy now and the enthusiasm behind voters, you really have a split at this point, if you have any split at all, among evangelicals between those Platonic philosopher types like David French and Christians who are going to the biblical record and looking at stories of David, the prodigal son, and others to determine their ethic. And so we know at the end of the day that we believe in the power of the gospel. We believe in the power of forgiveness. We don't look at the president as some perfect representation, but we look at a man who is leading by conviction, and he's doing a lot of good things. And so I think you're going to see a greater support this time than ever before.
Ryan, yesterday you had Charlie Kirk speaking at the Faith Summit, and he talked about there being a crisis with young people. I want to play a clip from his time speaking, and then let's talk about it. Here's Charlie Kirk.
There's a crisis happening with young people in our country. One of the worst decisions that has been made in the history of our country, one of the worst mistakes, was shutting down our entire country, especially with young people. We have seen suicides on the way up in ways that we've never seen before. Drug usage, alcoholism, domestic abuse, self-harm, antidepressant medication is now the most prescribed form of medication for people under the age of 30.
How do we bring these folks back to the church and give them faith instead of all of these other drugs and vices that they're turning to in this time of crisis?
No, that's absolutely right. Charlie's correct. The power behind the church is the gathered church. When people meet together, and sometimes that meeting, the regularity could be weekly, it could be bi-weekly, but churches need to open because they offer essential services, that it's not just about prayer meetings and sermons. There's power in that. But then it's also the churches that are feeding, clothing, churches that are providing counseling services. When a church is shut down in a community, or several thousand churches are shut down in an area, maybe a 90 or 150 mile radius, that has a significant impact on crime, recidivism, on suicide, on drug abuse, on sexual abuse, and any other kind of thing that you can name. I mean, really, churches have a huge impact on their communities, and they're not always measured economically or financially or in terms of crime rates. But it is true that when a church goes missing from the public square, from the public arena, there is a huge impact on society, and we are seeing that now.
Because you hit on something that was top of mind for me, and you just brought it to mind, and that is, what about this shutdown when some businesses can open and, riding in the streets is perfectly okay, but attending Sunday service or Saturday service, whichever you prefer, is not allowed? What kind of financial damage is happening to these houses of worship all over our country because the offering plate isn't getting passed? The people aren't together as worshipers and as people of faith. What happens? Are we going to see churches closed permanently?
Yeah, I'm scared to say, and I do think this is true, some speculate as many as a quarter, 25% of churches in the United States will be shut down within 18 months because they cannot financially They can't sustain these losses, and they can't remain open. And that's a travesty. The other thing is, from anybody who's a pure economist, the negative diseconomy of having shutdowns, especially of churches and the services that they provide to a community, you're going to see a lot greater impact on policing, on the cost of business riots, businesses being burned, or whatever. Crime is going to be a huge impact in that area because churches are absent. So when you think about a church closing down because financially they can't make it, that also could lead to greater economic impacts in those regions as well.
Yeah, that's critical.
Ryan
and that's
Helfenbein.
Something concern. Go ahead, Tudor.
Ryan Helfenbein, thank you so much, Director of the Fall Kirk Center. We appreciate you being here. And Steve, I want to remind you again that I know you don't need to be reminded, but we want to talk about and honor the folks that were there on September 11th. And one of the people who was there and very deeply involved, of course, America's Mayor, Rudy Giuliani. Our own Steve Bannon on War Room this morning had the chance to sit down and talk with him. We want you to see that now.
Well, I was having breakfast at the Peninsula Hotel. Thought it was going to be a quiet day. It was primary day in New York, and all of a sudden, one of my police officers came in and said that a twin-engine plane had hit the North Tower. We walked outside to go down there, saw a beautiful, clear day, concluded it couldn't be an accident. It must be either a terrorist attack or some kind of a strange revenge attack. And then I started rushing there. I could see the tremendous flames. It didn't look like it was just a twin-engine plane. And then a big explosion, and that's when the second plane hit. And my police commissioner, Bernie Kirk, called me and said, "Boss, this is a terrorist attack." And we closed down immediately the bridges and tunnels because we had no idea if it was going to be only 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6. We began dispersing the police to the areas we thought they would hit next. I got there. I walked to the fire department command post, which was right below the North Tower, and I saw the most horrific experience of my life. Seeing in my life, I saw a man jump from the 100th floor all the way down and get crushed when he hit the ground. I saw people getting hit with debris, some of them being knocked down. Then I got to the fire command post, and we organized the division of labor between fire and police. And then it was just a incredible day of horrible things that happened and tremendous bravery.
Of course, that was Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who was mayor of New York City at the time of the terror attacks on 9/11. A lot of people don't know, Steve, that many people have been added to the memorial since 9/11 because they continue to die of respiratory illnesses and cancers that they've gotten from all of the dust that day. There were so many carcinogens in the air. 27 members will be added to the list this year. 27 members of the New York Fire Department will be added to the memorial this year. We have their names here. We'll go out on that with a moment of silence. We'll be back right after this break.
Stay tuned to get a free pan from Granite Stone. Stuck on eggs, burnt on batter. You can scrub and scrape, but you can't escape the nightmare of your sticky pans. Introducing the Granite Stone Pan, the all-new durable non-stick pan. No butter or oil needed. Watch, we melted down these sticky candies in Granite Stone, and it just doesn't stick. We cooked a half a dozen eggs, bacon, cheese, and tomato breakfast with no butter or oil, and it just doesn't stick. Look, caramels, chocolate, and cheese. Unreal for any other pan, but not for Granite Stone. It just doesn't stick. Granite Stone will be the last pan you'll ever need because it's pressed from a solid aluminum disc for even heat conduction, then coated 3 times with our durable Granite Stone finish. Granite Stone is metal utensil safe and won't scratch. And talk about non-stick. This salmon cooked skin side down with no added butter or oil just doesn't stick. This steak is perfectly seared just like the pros. And because Granite Stone is oven rated to 500 degrees, we bake this upside-down pan pizza to perfection, and it just doesn't stick. Fire Flambe Delicious Cherries Jubilee. Plus, it's PFOA free and 100% dishwasher safe. Call or go online to get your Granite Stone Pan for the special TV discount price of just $19.99. Granite Stone is so durable it comes with a 10-year warranty. And with every order, you're going to get a Granite Stone single-serve egg pan absolutely free. It's the perfect size for personalized eggs, omelets, or frittatas that slide right out. It makes the best bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich quick. Yours absolutely free. We'll even ship your entire order free. That's right, free shipping. You get it all, an incredible value. Here's how to order.
To order, call 1-800-850-0237. That's 1-800-850-0237, or order online at buygranitestone.com. That's 1-800-850-0237. Call now.
Well, the Faith Conference had a lot of notable names and faces, including Kim Klasik. You may have heard of her recently, running for Maryland's 7th Congressional District, taking people for a stroll through Baltimore to show people what it's like. She also sat down with our own Dr. Gina Loudon for this interview. Listen to this.
And here now with Kim Klasik. You know her, you know the commercial, you know the incredible shoes, and she, of course, is running for Congress in Maryland, and the amazing speech you gave at RNC. We were all there and watching and cheering you. This has been really a pinnacle month for you. Give us a breakdown of what real life is like for you at this moment.
I know, right? It's been crazy. So, after our campaign ad dropped, it was August 17th, I believe was the day. I was nervous because I honestly didn't think it was going to do that well, and I didn't know if people were going to take it in just such a negative way that it would, blow a hole through our whole campaign and say, oh gosh, she's just, bashing Baltimore. She has no solutions. But people really took to it and said, you know what? For the first time, someone's actually calling out the problems. So since then, at that point in time, we had raised about $275,000.
Which is still respectable.
It is, yes, yeah, especially as a Republican running in a plus 26 Democratic district.
Exactly.
But luckily, we're getting small donors from all over the country, and so we passed $5 million, I think, just the other day in total. So, we're raising money. We're now able to do commercial ad buys. We've got our new video coming out. It's all about solutions and what I plan to do and my issues, and we're excited. It's been, like you said, a couple crazy weeks here, but in a good way.
And you're doing some polling, you told me, and I'm sure excited to see those results. Will those be results that you'll publish?
Absolutely, absolutely. I think a lot of people need to understand what you always hear in the media, especially in the local media in the Baltimore area, isn't always what people are saying in the area. So, the people in West Baltimore actually are very happy with the fact that we're helping getting the trash removed. They're happy that they now have options when they go to vote this November 3rd. I tell people and I say to them, what can we do to get you to even consider voting for a Republican? And they'll all tell me, you're the first Republican I've ever met. And I'm like, okay, so that's a problem.
That's a problem.
It is. And so I mentioned that in my RNC convention speech.
Yes, I heard that.
Yeah, we can't write off these inner cities. We got to go in there and offer an option. And so, as soon as the polling comes back, I'm going to release it, and so everyone can see, exactly what they're saying on the ground. We learned 2 weeks ago, a Gallup poll showed 81% of Black Americans do not want to defund the police, but that's not what we hear.
Wow.
So I'm definitely excited to see what the polling shows.
What is your advice to your party when you say that you're knocking on doors and people are telling you you're the first Republican I've ever met? What do Republicans need to do differently?
Yeah, so, get in there, roll your sleeves up, don't just sit back, because, the guy that I'm running against, he actually had this seat from 1987 to 1996, and then the late Congressman Cummings took over. So he's coming back for his seat, but he thought he didn't have to do any work. So now he's nervous. There's some op-eds that have gone out, he's attacking us. But this is what's happened is a lot of Democrats in these cities that have been controlled by Democrats for 50 years, such as Baltimore, they take the vote for granted. And so they don't do any work. So even though we're out there knocking on doors, my opponent and his team are nowhere to be seen. I'm sure he's already written his acceptance speech. He had no idea that we were going to come for his spot. So I tell Republicans, just get out there, just showing that you care and that putting the work in matters. I think you're going to make some upsets across this country.
And what will you do if you get in there? What are you going to do differently that your opponent hasn't done? Because you'd have your hands very full. I saw those commercials. Baltimore needs a lot of work.
Absolutely. So first and foremost is career opportunities. We have no career opportunities. Baltimore at one time was like a manufacturing powerhouse, right? And then we saw NAFTA happen and all those jobs went overseas. So what we saw during the coronavirus lockdown, I say, why rely on other countries for PPE? Why not bring that medical equipment industry back to the U.S.? And what greater port than the second largest port in the country, which we have in Baltimore City? So obviously careers is number one. And then second, I talk about school choice. And a lot of parents do agree. A lot of the schools in their neighborhoods, we have 13 high schools where kids graduate and they're not proficient in math. That's a problem. There needs to be some kind of competition. And this teachers union, even right now, we're seeing with this virtual learning, unfortunately in Baltimore City, there's a lot of kids that do not have internet access or the computers to do it. So they're being left behind, So education, career opportunities, first and foremost.
Yeah, and that sounds like things that the president, those are high priorities on his list, I know as well. Yeah. Have you discussed these things with him?
So we're hoping to meet him in the next couple weeks here. But I love his stance on law and order.
You haven't even met him yet. You spoke at RNC and you haven't met him yet.
I know. They told me I have to, settle down, get a COVID test. There's a lot of, now to go through. So hopefully we'll get on the schedule there. His son, Eric Trump, is setting up the meeting. He's been so helpful. Donald Trump Jr. gave us an endorsement. So the whole family has been a part of this. And so I can't wait to sit down and talk to the president about how we truly support law and order and we truly support him. So even when we're knocking on the doors, we're not just talking about my race. We're talking about President Trump's race as well. So it's been great.
That is just fascinating. Well, it's amazing to watch you because this is what should have been happening for decades, ever since we realized that these Democrats come into areas and they, nothing changes for these people. It really isn't about party. It really is about the individual candidate that's willing to go in and truly dedicate their time in office to making a difference for the citizens they represent, which it sounds like you're willing to put in the effort. I'm lucky enough to have gotten to know you before this, but how has life changed for you in particular?
Yeah, so Politichicks, how I got started.
Yeah.
Man, I just remember writing in. Yeah. In 2015, I was like, hey, I give tours on Capitol Hill. I'm in D.C. Maybe I could be your D.C. correspondent. And I will never forget that. I got the courage to go into Congressman Trey Gowdy's office the night before he interviewed Hillary Clinton for the Benghazi committee hearing. And I walk in, I'm like, hey, I'm here to interview Trey. And they're like, who are you? And I'm like, well, I'm Kim with Politichicks. And they're like, all right, he's got 10 minutes. And, I did that. And from there, One American News saw it. Other news channels saw the interview that was written up. And they had me come in and talk about it. And it's just gone from there. So, yeah, I thank Politichicks from my very start. So,
how about that?
Yeah, it's been an amazing ride. Like I said, that was in 2015. So in 5 years, I feel like I've made some inroads. And I hope to do even more in the next 5 years.
Well, we expect great things. Best of luck to you. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you.
All right.
Kim Klasik, running for Maryland's 7th Congressional District. She's going to be a star, Tudor, I can tell you that. She already is. In fact, she ran that commercial and dropped it on the internet, on social media, the same night that Michelle Obama spoke at the Democratic National Convention. And Kim Klasik there walking through Maryland, Baltimore, showing the people what's really going on. She killed it on social media. Out-delivered Michelle Obama, and that's quite an accomplishment during the DNC. Quick break, you're on America's Voice Live.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I guarantee you they'll be the most comfortable sheets you'll ever own.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best sleep of my life. They are so soft and smooth. I never slept so good.
I fall asleep faster because I'm actually comfortable.
I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable, which is why I can give you my full 10-year warranty. But I didn't stop there. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. I guarantee you the first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now. MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors and will be the softest, most comfortable sheets you will ever own. Use the promo code and get 2 for 1 low price, plus free shipping. Giza Dreams are made with the finest, most sought-after cotton in the world. Giza cotton was once reserved for only the finest dress shirts, but is now available in Mike's Giza Dream Sheets. They feature a beautiful silky sateen weave that helps keep you cool and comfortable all night long.
With the Giza Dream Sheets, I'm getting the best rest of my life.
I love my Giza Dream Sheets. Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Use the promo code and Mike will give you a very special 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. That's right, get 2 for 1 low price and free shipping. Call or go online now.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Welcome back to America's Voice Live. Steve, we've been talking about the importance of honoring our first responders, especially today, but every day. Now, obviously, today we find it to be especially important on September 11th to honor those folks who do this every day. And as we've said, it's without question. Now, this next story I find really fascinating because these folks came across, the firefighters came across a vehicle that was submerged in water. We have a picture of it here we'll put up for you. This vehicle is submerged in water, but the thing that you can't see in the picture here is that it's 40 degrees. When the firefighters came up to when the firefighters came up to this car, they looked at it and they thought there can't be any survivors, but take a look at this.
So instantly thinking that there's somebody alive in the car underwater, it kind of just jumped into action. And the cold was so cold that it made your skin burn. And it was really hard to hold my breath at first. But the car was upside down, and with the front of the car, the engine side, tipped down a little bit. So there was an air pocket near the back seats. And fortunately, she found her way there. It was just, the chances of that are so small.
And amazing. They were able to break open the door. They were able to get her out. But Steve, this is one of those stories where they looked at this. They said they had over 100 years of combined experience with a water rescue, but none of them had actually been in the water to do it. And he had no qualms about getting in and immediately saving this young woman. She was suffering from hypothermia, but she was taken to the hospital and turned out to be fine. But that is one of my greatest fears, Steve, is to be trapped in a car submerged in water. I can't imagine that. And the fear in those firefighters' minds, think of the adrenaline. You have to get this person out, or their life depends on it. Knowing they're alive under the water there, it's terrifying.
Seconds. Yeah, seconds to spare. I don't know if we still have the video, but we were talking earlier about Savad Johnson, Detroit firefighter, who put his life on the line to save some little girls who fell into the Detroit River here just a couple of weeks ago. Savad Johnson jumped in to save these little girls, but unfortunately he didn't come out. The little girls did, but Savad Johnson, what was he, a 17-year veteran? 26-year veteran, excuse me. And he jumped in, wasn't even on duty, Tudor. This is a guy that was not on duty. Saw these little girls that had jumped in the water. They were playing. They were in trouble. He kicked in, and he did what had to be done. And again, these are the sorts of stories that we don't talk about nearly enough. Savad Johnson honored now by the city of Detroit because he sacrificed his own life as a hero to save these little girls. I mean, it just seems to me, maybe we could spend a little less time talking about all the bad things in the world and talking about some of the good things in the world, like Savard Johnson. And I'm so glad that the city of Detroit has honored him. So sad that somebody like him is gone, because the world's a lesser place without a hero like him. I mean, that's a true hero. And we're surrounded by him. We learned it on September 11th, 2001, when so many police and firefighters ran toward the Twin Towers. They didn't turn and run. They ran toward the Twin Towers. People were coming out. Then the first tower came down. And they kept running toward the tower that was still standing, hoping to get people out, trying to get them down the stairs and trying to get them down because the elevators didn't work. And rush on they did. Not being fearful for their own lives, trying to save those that they didn't even know. Trying to do what Americans always do. To do what is right. To go towards danger. To help those we don't know, whether here or abroad. We've always done that as Americans. And I hope we will continue to be those Americans going forward. And I hope that stories like this give you pause to say, you know what? Maybe I can, say hello to the neighbor and bury the hatchet and say thank you to the guy that helped me out and open the door for somebody, or mow the woman's lawn like the story we had earlier here on the program, Tudor. There are so many things we could do to just say, hey, we are in this together. We are Americans, Tudor.
Absolutely. And that was a man who had his 10-year-old daughter with him. When you talk about the Detroit firefighter Johnson, he went into the water, his daughter watching him when they brought up the survivors. She said that he wasn't there. They had to look in the water, found his body. He didn't survive. Thank you for spending the last 2 hours with us on this day to remember. We'll be back on Monday, but right now we want to go into a moment of silence for the weekend for those who perished on September 11th. We will never forget.
Brett Favre, legendary quarterback. Jerry Rice, legendary wide receiver.
You ready for your weekly beating?
Yeah, we're ready.
Let's do this.
Let's stack the deck.
When legends play.